I told you this was a trap for most of you. I wanted you to be here so you could hear from the power brokers how the negative conduct is affecting our business and the community. I think Mr. Clear deserves another round of applause. If you realize that he's one of those behind the penny relays every year in Pennsylvania. He's the one who owns and operates Team Jamaica Biddle that feeds the thousands of athletes for free when they come to penny relays every year. He also uses the vans to transport the athletes from New York to Pennsylvania and around the city. So he understands the role of commuter vans, he understands business, and he understands how we should live in harmony with our community. And I don't want everybody to get restless. We're gonna beat this conduct thing until it comes alive in our everyday activity. The next person you'll hear from is Mr. Cormier. And I will tell you that the calls come in from him all the time regarding conduct. Hector, you guys have a good thing and you're gonna blow it. And he chastises me even more. We have an obligation as businessmen and women to put our best performance behind the wheel every single day.
I have a voice problem, so you have to listen. I'm not going to talk long. I want to elaborate on what the previous speaker said. We're here today primarily because we have complaints, and I hear them all the time. And the reality is, that you've had, I'm going to be very critical. You've had all the complaints of the compliments you're going to get from me. I'm going to tell you really in a meaningful way, with good intentions, what you have to do in order to really legitimize yourself and become a good citizen. And that is, you must understand that your ridership is not the only population that you must satisfy. You must satisfy the general public. I want you to understand what I'm saying. At one time I had an office with about 20 people. We had about 1,100 employees. And all the ladies used to come in the office. And the first thing they would say was, damn, bad traffic. You're cutting me off again today. This and that and the other. We know everybody's going to do it. And you people who are doing the right thing have an obligation to protect your industry by making sure that the offenders don't get away with it. And you have a lot of support from that. The police department and the GLC and your elected officials. You do have a good industry. I go back with this industry, as I said, 30-some or 40 or 35 years ago, when you first got started, I was working with the Ready Jamaica, one of the founders, Ready Jamaica Development Corporation. And I was entitled them to get a grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation to make a study. And they found how relevant you are. And I don't know if you realize that. But you are the third largest African industry in Queens. You realize that? Think about that. You're the third largest. Who can tell me what the first largest is? Come on, let's talk. Let's talk. The church, well, there's a time between the church and the drug dealer. Sure enough, the restaurants don't count. The fans really is the third largest. You generate more income in the industry than any other African American organization in Queens. You have something to guard something to be proud of. But you've got to police yourself. The real reason this meeting is here is because there was a threat to stop you from picking up on Parsons Boulevard. You aware of that? And rightly so, because the complaint was that garbage and stuff was being thrown out. So we're here today, hopefully, to regulate ourselves, to show discipline, and to do whatever it takes to prove that we're good citizens. I'm with you. I'm going to tell you when I think you're wrong. I can't talk too long, so you forgive me. But everybody understand what I said? Okay, I made a special effort to come out today, but I shouldn't be out taking therapy for my children. I wanted you to know I'm in your corner, but you've got to hold yourself, and those that are doing right, you got to continue to do right. And you got to force the other people to do right also. Some of the legitimate guys are doing wrong too. I know everybody out there is rightfully driving, but not illegal. So those of you who are doing wrong, you got to stop. You've got a good industry going, we need you. The population needs you. But you've got to also understand that you've got to satisfy your neighbors, not just your ridership. Thank you for having me here.
Well said. We must applaud Mr. Cormier. You know, his throat is giving him some challenges, but he still is up and working. You think he's retired, but he still puts in 40 hours a week, volunteer work in all aspects of our community. And I salute him. And you know, for me, I was raised knowing that there are certain things that you should not do. And when you tend to cross that line, you think of I think of my mother and father. And although they died over 32 years ago, I still think of it. Now, I have some mentors in my community who I've leaned on. And Mr. Cormier is one of them. And so I don't cross the line because I'm obligated to do the right thing, not embarrass myself or embarrass my mentors and my friends and my community. That's the kind of conduct we need when we go behind the wheel of vans. And I'm saying that in the presence of my son. He's over there fiddling with his camera. The young man over there in the corner is my youngest son. And he helped me he actually put this program together, so I salute him. Our next speaker is Attorney Dobbs.
Thank you, Hector. I'll be brief. There's some really good comments that were made by everybody today. I have a saying that I often refer to, and I try to live my life this way too. Organization plus education equals emancipation. You are clearly organized. There's no question about that. We need to educate the people that work with us, and we need to, even more importantly, educate the folks that are at this table about what we do and what we want to accomplish. The policymakers that are in government, the people that are enforcing the law and making the laws that affect your business are here. And I agree, perception sometimes becomes or matches reality, but there could be a reality that is not being perceived correctly. Okay, you've heard the phrase, a small number of bad apples ruins the bunch, right? Well, this is a great industry with law-abiding, good people in it, but of course, what do you watch on the news, whether it's a taxi or a commuter van accident or a fist fight in the street? It's always the bad that's emphasized. And then when there's selective reporting, that becomes the reality. Well, we know it's not the reality, okay? But we need to shake some of those bad apples from our trees. Because when you're going in to have a dialogue about making some changes and correcting the injustices that have occurred, and to really get recognition for all the things you see on the sign, helping with the cab strike, after 9/11, Sandy. I remember living through this with all of you. And The city has asked and asked and asked for your help. Now it's time for them to give back to you. But we need to be perceived correctly. So what we do is you're organized. Now we need to organize our thoughts. We need to educate our policymakers with the new administration, which is destined to help the people of this city, especially the people in the boroughs and the communities where we live and we work. And whether it's using technology, whether it's getting rid of some laws off the books that make no sense, we need to portray in a very, very accurate, consistent way to them that we have law-abiding folks. We gotta get our house in order. You go back to your shops and you say, you know what, got a couple of bad drivers, they're not acting safely, they're being disruptive, they're not giving the best quality, customer service. Fix it. We're going to go to the administration and we're going to go to the public and we're going to portray not just the history of injustices, but things that we need to have fixed in priority order. And number two, our vision. Because we need a vision for this industry that goes, in my opinion, well beyond what we're doing now. And we could be the solution in the transportation world to a lot of different problems. But let's get our house in order. Let's be perceived correctly. And the way you do that, you need to speak the language of the government and the policymaker. Okay, now that I'm on the other side somewhat, I'm kind of straddling the lines. I still hang out with the regulators and represent them, but I also work with the industry too. I've seen both sides of it. There's a side that people who work for government, like I did for 16 years, don't understand until you actually get out there and live and breathe it. So I'm there, I'm with you now. You need to make that dream come alive, that reality come alive, and portray it in the most accurate way. Because, unless you have a meeting or talk and provide studies and facts and answer the questions that are asked by the government folks that are making the decisions that affect your destiny, unless you can get that together and get it organized and portray it in the right way, you can have the best of intentions, and it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. There's a way to funnel and communicate, and we need to do that. But when you have policymakers that you haven't been meeting with, and you haven't had contact with the government, and all they see and hear about are the one or two bad things that happen in the news. You're fighting an uphill battle. We need to get control of the situation. I look forward to working with you. There hasn't been a commuter van study or analysis. For the life of me, why city planning has been doing that, and not, U.S. or city or state DOT and TLC is beyond me. But the City Planning Commission is really the only entity that's ever done any studies, and they're, it's 10, 20 years old by now. The Institute for Justice came back, you folks, and the mayor and the city council years ago did too. But you've been forgotten. The only time you're ever remembered, unfortunately, is when bad things happen. And that's got to change. That's got to change. So we need to be proactive and get involved when there's not a crisis going on. And I think the first ask we need to make to our officials in the new administration is, here we are, this is what we do, this is what some of our problems are, these are our solutions, and this is where we want to go. And if we do that with statistics, facts and figures that we're going to be asking all of you for about your operations, but also the last thing we need is, before we have a meeting, we're talking about some of the specific changes you want, to have one of your drivers go out and do something really bad, end up in a really bad situation where it's all over the papers too. Because that unfortunately taints people's viewpoints. So let's get our houses in order. Let's reemphasize good conduct and good customer service. We have high hopes for this industry. We're going to make it happen. This is unfinished business for me personally. I'm very, very happy and pleased to be with you. And I know Phil is too, because Phil was, when he was in the council, they were trying to make some fixes to this thing. We have to rise above the politics. We have to live within the politics. We have great political support here. We need to build on that. Okay, sometimes you have the best ideas and be organized, but you need to have the heavyweights with you. But being here today is a good first step. Okay, public officials react to people being organized in large groups. Okay, I've seen thousands of emails sent. Okay, I can think of a situation where there was 5 people sending hundreds of emails. got the attention of the governor. Okay? When you organize and you communicate with the government, they listen. If you sit back and think about it and dream about it, it ain't never going to happen. So let's take control of our destiny. You got great people here, both in the government and outside the government, that are behind you. So let's bring it all together, and I commend you, Hector, for pulling this together. And I'm very, very excited about finishing our unfinished business.
You know, one of the reassuring things that, I still call him Commissioner, one of the reassuring things that the chairman said to me recently was that, Hector, we're going to make sure that no aspect of the TLC licensee is treated less than the other. The only time I saw that was immediately after 9/11, when we were in the city volunteering on the east side, moving firefighters, bereaved family members, and we donated our services. But that wasn't it. A few weeks later, Chairman Das convened a meeting at Woodside, and he acknowledged every entity licensed on the TLC that helped after 9/11. I have not seen that level of recognition, that level of support since he left. I'd like you to know that I also was appointed by the chairman on the advisory board, the Commuter Van Advisory Board, where we met in a fashion like this, where we had all the entities, DOT, TLC, NYPD, where we planned the movement of the industry forward. That too has been dismantled. So I'm glad that we have the Assistant Commissioner in charge of policy here, so she will take back to the chair some of our concerns. And thanks again, Madam. We're going to hear now from the 103rd Precinct. We have a serious problem on Archer Avenue. While the legal vans are queued up on Parsons Boulevard, a legal van stop, we have vans, legal and illegal, in the bus lane, eastbound on Archer Avenue between 153rd and 160th Street. It is a dangerous, dangerous situation. Westbound on Archer between 153rd and 160th Street is a one-lane street. We have vans parked there. It is a death trap. It is an embarrassing situation. And from an economical point of view, the guys who do the right thing and queue up on Parsons, they're losing ridership. It is taking place for one simple reason, because they believe they can get away with it. And we have some recommendations, and we know we never tell the police department how to do their thing. They're the experts. But we have some recommendations that we'll be forwarding to them to address this issue. It's a time bomb. It's an embarrassment to the community. And when the community board 12 calls me, Ms. Ivana Riddick, we expected her to be here, she's not. She calls me, and she holds me responsible. One of those very vans held her hostage in her car. Now, you don't have to know who the person driving the car to be courteous to them. You just have to be courteous at all times. Someone held the chair of Community Board 12 hostage and was extremely rude. And if you did that to the chair of the board, you do it to the regular motorists on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, these things just have to stop. So you're going to hear from the 103rd Precinct.
Hello again, everybody. Thank you again for having us here, being a part of your meeting. As the NYPD, we do get complaints, and mainly we are listening to a lot of the negative things in the community, you know, in the line of work that we do, but by all means, we do not blame the whole for some of its parts. We tend to focus on just what is needed to be focused on. Some of the complaints that we get personally at community meetings, we have one on their precinct community council meeting. We speak with Ms. Riddick on a daily basis, and also just from individuals, concerned community members calling our office, as well as me personally, things that I have observed. Like I said, I've been here for 19 years, so I do know a lot about what goes on in this community. There is a double parking issue on Parsons and Archer that really impedes the flow of traffic northbound on Archer towards Jamaica Avenue. The bus stops, 158th Street, 160th Street on Archer Avenue. The bus stop on Merrick and Archer, as well as the bus stops going from Merrick all the way up to 110th Avenue, that we see the vans sitting in or usually just stopping and picking up passengers waiting for a city bus. The speeding on Merrick Boulevard to 110th Avenue. I can only speak to 110th Avenue because that's where the 103rd precinct stops. So the speeding, a little bit of reckless driving also that I have personally observed, as well as get complaints from people in the community. Now this is both from livery vans, licensed livery vans, and illegal vans acting as livery vans. So we're seeing it, you know, from both ends. Again, I know that it's not all of you. It's a small portion of you that are engaging in this type of behavior out there, and that's what we're trying to come to resolutions with this. If you could let us know who the problematic van drivers are, we can address that as well. You know, our phone lines are always open, our doors are always open to you. We have email addresses. You can keep in touch with us, email, and any way that we can, help you out. We're happy to help you out. And actually, I think I can speak for my partners here. We're very impressed to see how organized you are and how professional you are here today. I learned something here today by seeing this, and I can see that you all have a stake in the community, making it better. So again, thank you for having us, and we do have email addresses. I do have business cards. Please come up to us and get that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Every operator in this room remembers the day when you would run from a police officer. Today, we're having dialogue. We've come a long way. Let's continue the journey.
I don't know that I can add much to what has been said. Something tells me you guys are anxious to sort of reason with each other. What is so interesting about this is to hear Hector say that the chair of a community board here in Queens was held hostage in a vehicle. 3 nights ago, I was at Community Board 17 meeting, and the district manager of Community Board 17 in Brooklyn indicated that she was in a dollar van, and the driver of the van she was in was being pursued by another driver. And in an attempt to get away from whatever might befall that driver, she was in a similar situation. She had to take out her phone and threaten to call the precinct, and the driver then somehow made a maneuver. The other thing is that 2 nights ago, I was in another meeting, again of Community Board 17, but of the Commerce Committee. And it was a group of the club owners reasoning with the 67th precinct officials. Now, in the 45th district where Councilmember Williams operates, there are 40 nightclubs that the 67th precinct has to monitor. And in that room, the owners were in denial, is all I can say. They were coming up with what is surely bogus comments about the way, the type of summonses they would get. All right? I'm not a fool. I'm 70, moving on 71. All right? I have been in the public service and I've been in the private service. And I know it takes you all of 30 seconds to form an impression of whether people are lying or whether they're telling you. Plus, I live in the hood. I frequent some of the well, there was a time when I frequented some of these places. All right. But I also have children and I have my ears to the ground. I hope that out of this session today, you guys would be honest first with yourself as you come up with the changes you would like to see done by the bureaucrats who are up here. The whole matter of imagery, as Irwin and others have said, are critical. You don't have to dress fancy, but you have to dress in a way that people will feel that you respect yourself and you respect others. But more importantly, you have to conduct your business, because that's what you're running, a business, in a professional way and a safe way. All right, as I say, my role here is to listen, but as an elder, I can't help but give you a few words of wisdom. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Now, he's going to take back, Mr. Skinner's going to take back to Brooklyn all of what we have raised here today. But I'm hoping you heard all of what he said, but in particular, he said that a community board member was riding a commuter van and witnessed a potential violent act. Now, Ms. Zork is sitting here. She's a DOT analyst that evaluates the need and necessity before someone can be authorized. Now, she sends a notice out to the community boards to get a response on whether or not they think that service is needed in the community. I hope you understand that at every level, whether it's a passenger in the van or a motorist on the street, you're under scrutiny. And whether or not anyone is watching you, you ought to do the right thing. You just have to behave like a normal, civilized person. A professional operator. When the van is empty and when the street is empty. I had a dialogue with someone once. I was riding in the mall, Green Acres Mall, and I was a passenger, and the person didn't stop at a stop sign. It wasn't my son, so I don't want to get nervous. But the person didn't stop at the sign. And I said, "You ought to stop at the sign." And the person said, "But nothing was coming." At all times, you have to behave in a professional manner. Now, the community board person also comments on the reauthorization of a company. So not because you have the authority, you're home free. Every 6 years, we have to be reauthorized. And that community board member took notes. So whether they're pedestrians, they're in an automobile, they're taking notes. And we are obligated to do the right thing. Now, I smell the lunch on the burners. Let me just commend our chef. Let me tell you how diverse this business is. Mr. Carr was a commuter van operator in the company called City Express for a number of years. He became so successful that he opened a restaurant. And he's catered our lunch today. That's how diverse our business is. I'm going to open the floor. Well, let me just introduce two other individuals before I go further. The chairman talked about no study being done recently. Let me introduce Susan Caccioli. She's our insurance broker. She knows the commissioner very well. She knows most of you very well. In fact, I remember many years ago, the commissioner, this is not his first visit to Queens, you know. He came out when we had an insurance crisis to a little church on Merrick Boulevard on 226th Street to address an insurance crisis the industry had. So we have a fighter on our behalf. So Susan Caccioli is here with us. And let me dispel the rumor. They say I advise Susan Caccioli. It's not true. It's the other way around. Susan Caccioli advises me on everything. Then we have Ms. Thomas from an insurance agency in Brooklyn. She's somewhere in order, another insurance broker. And more insurances get more critical to our industry. In fact, since we are legal van operators, we buy insurance. And it's getting more burdensome, but we have to understand that the industry is rated based on the performance of the industry. So you may have a clean license, but the industry is rated based on the overall performance of everyone, the bad ones and the good ones. And then we have Mr. Goodwin. Now, Mr. Cormier got Yale College to study vans back in the 80s. The Institute for Justice got Harvard University School of Government to study vans in the 90s. And now we have Mr. Goodwin. Mr. Goodwin, raise your hands, please. He is a doctoral student at Columbia University. So vans have gone to Columbia now. All right? He's writing his dissertation on transportation planning, the commuter van, and the distribution of transit services. All right? So you're in the pages of his dissertation. And we've been working together for the past few years, and we wish him all the best. Now, I'm going to open the floor to questions. And please don't be redundant. If someone has asked, we ask that you not just repeat.
The drivers, when it comes to this, they're talking about the insurance policies. We are so burdened by insurance policies. No driver here pays less than $10,000 a year. No driver here pays less than $10,000 a year. And we will never have, and we'll never solve this problem unless we set up a referendum with the owners of the companies. We can't just keep a meeting here with the elected leaders of the companies, and when they come here, they try to dissect and tell us about the business. You know from a standpoint, there's a show that they call Undercover Boss. So let me be the undercover boss of today and talk to you people. When you come to drive a van or a commuter van, there's so much obstacles that are facing the drivers. I mentioned with the eye insurance, the van, that simple small van that carries only 13 passengers, also has to have a DOT inspection sticker placed on it. The driver has to have an Article 19A, a TLC license affixed to the vehicle, a hot license, which cannot represent me nowhere in the city, as a form of identification, plus my registration, which is $575 a year. No, notwithstanding, I have to buy brakes, tires, gas. So let's say the average driver makes $150 to $200 a day. Gas alone to full month, my gas tank is $120 per day. So if your intake supersedes, if your output supersedes what you take in, you're not really doing business, are you? No, the industry is comprised of like around 600 or probably like 500, probably overall drivers. Look at the minority that is here. This is a minority. When we leave the speed, whatever we solve, whatever we do, we will resolve nothing. All right? Let me get to the next point I want to make sure I answer to you. The administration have failed to acknowledge that over the past 3 administrations in the mayoral section, starting from Mr. Giuliani to Bloomberg to the present mayor, the vans have been intricate in playing a vital role. When the Long Island Railroad shut down twice, we took people from Jamaica, Queens, took the vans when there was no Long Island Railroad. back to Long Island. Plus, when the city was shut down with Mr. Toussaint, who moved the city but us? The hypocrisy of the NYPD to call you to the bus stop and say, come, pick up passengers. And as soon as the storm or whatever passed by, they get in a frenzy as if I'm driving a van. You know what I do for a living. I'm not a criminal, so why do you attack me and take me and try to treat me like I'm nobody? You understand what I'm saying? The companies, if they put aside the differences, 2 more minutes? Okay. The companies, as I say, notice I get a time limit. The companies should put aside the differences. Like I said, hold a referendum. This is my, sir, could I get your name? What's your name, sir? Matt? Yeah, I would love to set up a meeting with you because I like some of the things that you presented. I know most of the people on the panel come and they throw the negative things out, but I like some of the things you were saying. Anyway, like my thing is this, I'm going to address the few drivers who are here today. Understand this. You have a president named Barack Obama, right? He himself, without Congress, can pass no laws. In the history of America, never before has there been such the least amount of legislation signed in the history of a president. So without you guys, the footstool of this industry, everybody's talking about what's money coming in, money coming in, money coming out. They should understand, without you guys, these guys are nobody have any power. And power will never concede anything without demand. So you have to stand up and speak for what you want. Stop letting the people tell you what they want. What about us? You know what I'm talking about. You work when back in the days when there was something going on, the drivers all act that way on the streets. I'm talking about the way they behave. They behave like animals. I'm not going to lie. I see it out there. You're from TLC, right?
No, I'm from
Who's from the TLC that's rejecting? You're from TLC? You're the ones that are rejecting, and we can't get our stickers now on our vans. What's all the process? Nobody talks about what the drivers want. You have to find out what the drivers. This is from the ground up. No company's big. Whoever's at the top, nothing moves. The mule can't keep moving, and you don't give the mule water to drink or feed the mule. We're disagreeing to agree. We agree. I listen to you. Nobody. Okay, I'm going to go. Before I go, one more point, please. I just want to say to the drivers, gentlemen, you have to be aware that the kids go to school in the community. You have to be aware of the power of which we concede as a united front. Nobody around here, everybody is talking about their interests, but understand what I'm trying to tell you. We can move forward in a way better. We can be more creative and be more, I'm going to quote Dr. King twice. You should never stop. You should never stop protesting. But you should be creative in protesting. And always remember, it is better to die a physical death than to die a psychological death. Because when you die one time, but psychological, you live that every day.
Let me thank Mr. Morrison for his input, and you know, he has demonstrated his knowledge of the right to speak. He understands the Constitution and his rights. So we thank him for his input, and we hope that everyone has taken notes of what he said. Yes, family.
And I respect what he just said just now, but I disrespect what he did afterwards. You see, and it's inclusivity. And what I said to you earlier, you see something that damages your industry and you remain silent, then you're part of the challenge, you're part of the problem. I'm not saying that he had every right to say what he said just now. No disrespect, because it's all about inclusivity. And if you have not been hearing what I've been saying to you this morning, we're talking about the positive contributions that you've been making. And you know it, we spoke on that. But we also have to be honest with ourselves. How do we get better? It's how do we get better? That's what it's all about. So yes, his comments are welcome. But he must also stay for the music as well. You can't just sing the song and walk out. That's being disrespectful. So I hope he remained in the room. No? Alright, I know, but he should stay, man. He should stay, because I was very captivated by what he said. And what interests me was this, guys, is that it shows inclusivity. You understand what I'm saying? So we have a long way to go, Hector, because it's obvious that there's serious underground problems that needs to be resolved.
Well said, Mr. Clare, well said. We're going to take 4 more questions and then we're going to wrap things up. One of the commitments the Assistant Commissioner made was that she will be coming to listen, to hear our concerns and take them back to the chair. And that's exactly what she's doing. Let me also assure you that 2 weeks ago, we asked the law firm that we've retained to take a look at the plate issue and to have as much work put into it to resolve it in our favor. I think every company here has vans sitting, waiting to be licensed, but because the issue of the plate is not resolved, they can't go forward. So it's something that's being resolved, and many of you company heads know that because we've raised it with you before, that the attorneys are working on it. I had a long conversation with Deputy Commissioner Weiss on the issue of the plates. And he was very patient with me. He went through what he believes is the rule. I did disagree with him, but it's being worked on. And then the Assistant Commissioner is going to take it back to the chair. So we're attacking it from two angles. Thank you for the question.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. My name is David Clark, and I'm a commuter van driver for the past 26 years in Queens, Jamaica. Queens, Jamaica is my community. I love this community very much. And I fight for this community. I fight for the quality of life, of get safety for our kids on the street, the pedestrian, and the elderly people. My problem is this with the TLC, the DOT, and the company head of these companies, is you as a driver and you live in your community, you want to see your community improve. You want to see better for your community. You want to see better for your kids. I got 5 kids. 2 go to college. 1 go to one of the best college in Atlanta, Georgia University College. He studied for computer engineer, and my son have to go to college. I am a commuter van driver, and the problem that we have in Queens is the safety #1, the reckless and the dangerous driving on our street. What I want the TLC to do and the DOT to do, not just for me, for all of us and the community, is enforce the law for the vans driving. First, the Taxi and Limousine Commissioner said, you must have a commercial driver's license, a ACT license, a Article 19A, and a medical certificate before you drive a commuter van. I would love to see the Taxi and Limousine Commission and the DOT that authorize these vans to get tough on the owners of these companies. Stop let unlicensed drivers driving these vans that don't have no respect for nobody. When you talk to some of these drivers, they threaten you. I'm not here to pick out nobody. As what Mr. Irwin said, we have to come together and unite. Laws and rules and regulation are made to follow, because without laws, we won't be here. I'm a commuter van driver. I own 2 vans. And when I own the vans, I talk about the quality of life issue about with the driver. If I talk to someone or the precinct about the reckless and the driver, some of these van drivers, they go against me. It shouldn't be that. Not because I'm a commuter van driver and I talk about the reckless, the dangerous, and the unlicensed driver. That should make me be an informer. But some of these licensed drivers go around with the unlicensed drivers and then promote hatred against me. I'm not here to look no sympathy or compensate. I own 2 vans. This is how they do my vans. See it? This is how they do my vans. Burn it up. And then they steal it. And some of these drivers sit down and they laugh about it and then think it's something. I don't get no compensated. I work hard. I got 5 kids I have to feed. And when somebody do you this criminal act, nobody gets arrested for it. Because who know they don't do. The NYPD don't arrest nobody and nobody arrested. And it may be the last. And they sit down and talk. So this is what I would say. I would like to see the TLC put pressure on these DOT owners to clean up the map, make the safety of our community, the respect for the passenger, and the qualification to drive a van. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about. Bringing the regulators to the van operators and companies to address the real issues. Now, if you look on the recommendations that we've made, and I'm not going through them one by one, but if you look on the recommendations that we've made, number 5 says, we affirm that we will work with community boards, DOT, TLC, and NYPD to address persistent violators with the goal of having their authorities revoked. So we are going to be working with the authorities. And as he said, he shouldn't be called an informer. No one who reports bad conduct should be ostracized. We should welcome them because we'll have a safer and better community.
Thank you for that comment. I would like to welcome you all next Thursday to speak to the safety issue that you raised. Next Thursday at the Jamaica Performing Arts Center, we have a workshop for the upcoming Vision Zero initiative. It's being hosted by NYPD, DOT, TLC, Department of Health, and a few other agencies. Under this initiative, the mayor is looking to reduce the amount of traffic fatalities to as close to zero as possible. And this is your chance the best chance to have input into the process. It'll be next Thursday, May 29th, between 6:30 and 8:30 at the Jamaica Performing Arts Center. Please, the more people that come, the better. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please note that the Performing Arts Center is located right here on Jamaica Avenue between 153rd and Parsons on the eastbound side. All right, it's very important as transportation providers, as drivers, that we participate in Vision Zero. Because, in fact, vans sometimes contribute to the fatalities. And we have to be part of the solution in our communities to create safe drivers, safe van, safer streets. All right, we are going to take one more. 113 briefing.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. First thing I want to say is that, you guys are the community. The quality of life that you want is what you will get. And the amount of effort you put in to get that quality of life, that is what you will get back. The gentleman who spoke, where everybody I heard in the background, sucking their teeth and all this other stuff, you have an uphill battle. And that's with anything. Right here, we're talking about commuter vans. But it could be just the drugs in the community. It could be the kids in the gangs and all that stuff. And you'll still get that same reaction, all right, from people. But now, when those same people will suck their teeth and they complain like, oh yeah, I'm farmer and this and that and the other, right? They do well, they have a family. Now they're gonna say, yeah, you guys need to stop there, all right? You need to stop doing all that stuff because I want that quality of life. Remember, what goes around comes around, all right? So eventually, when you do well and you have a family and you want to protect them, right, you're going to need the help and resources that everybody on this panel can provide, all right? And that will help your quality of life. And if you don't want to help, then you're going to see yourself staying in that pattern of things, where you're going to be running from the police. But like earlier, or the TLC or DOT, and like earlier what we said is, but you're going to think twice, because you're going to get old. You're going to be tired of running, okay? So, you know, and we got to think smarter. And this is the way to think smarter. I have an email address for the 113th precinct, and you can add yourself to it by emailing it and saying, I would like to be a part of your email address. And from there, we'll inform you of what things are going on in the community. All right, so the email address for those who want it is communityaffairs113@gmail.com. Okay, community affairs, common spelling, and 113@gmail.com, no spaces. And this is a way that you build your network. Because everything in life is about a network, and a strong one. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about. You know, I see the scenario happen every day. Two drivers are in a dispute. One calls the other one police informer, yet when they both beat up each other, they both call the police. So I would suggest that just don't fight. So you won't have to call the police. But the police are our partners. They're the ones we rely on. Without them, there'd be chaos everywhere. And we appreciate them very much. Mrs. Williams, and then...
Good afternoon. My name is Thelma Williams, owner of Montego, Scarlet Girl, and Thelma Williams Transportation. I've been in this business from 1981 until now. I get feeble. This is for TLC. Since March, some of the vehicles couldn't get insurance. They do get the plate change. TLC refused to give the sticker. How am I going to pay the mortgage? Send the grandkids to college? England money is bigger than New York equivalent. One of them is going to King's College, and one is going, I don't remember the university that the next one is going. I have to send them to school because I don't want them to become a van driver like myself. One is studying for the science of the moon and whatever. Now we want to come to New York here to come to the space shuttle. He sent me to come and find out, you know, the astronaut. That's what that one wants to be. Now, how am I going to manage if I cannot get the vehicle sticker from TLC and the TLC police is out there taking away the vehicle? Where am I going to find the money to pay for it from the pound? I would like an answer. And how long am I going to wait for that? The bank will take away the house, and I live nowhere. I can't go to the shelter with the stick. I have great grandkids. I just come back from London just for this meeting. How long am I going to wait to get an answer, or Mr. Ricketts? That's what I want to find out. Because the van has to be out there.
Okay, let me just thank Ms. Williams for reiterating that point. I know the Assistant Commissioner now realizes that this is an urgent matter. And as she committed to do, she will take it back, and we're cautiously optimistic that it will be resolved in short order. Let me just say that to all that who are sitting here, you just heard, and it was stated before, it was expressed before, that each operator here represents real life. Real life. Kids and grandkids. This is my son right here. He's in 2 months he will receive his master's degree. And you notice I only have 4 fingers. I sold one to pay his college tuition. So it's real life. And it impacts a lot of individuals. Thelma Williams has been in the business for over 30 years. And we love the fact that we have women entrepreneurs in our business. And we want to see her retire and the business continue in good stead. Let me just add one piece of information. The other day, I did a preliminary research on the operators in my company. I have 55 drivers, and I found that upwards of 80% of them own their own homes. 87% of them were registered voters. 75% of them had kids either in college or who had finished college. I invited a council member to the meeting, Councilmember Denny Miller. I don't know if he's here or a representative, but on his block, there are 3 van drivers who own homes right there.
We're outnumbered by the illegal vans. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, all over the place that in no way contributing any revenue to the city. A lot of those, when we're outnumbered, the ones that being outnumbered is what paints a big negative picture to the ones that's trying to do the right thing. They don't have anyone to answer to but themselves. The company heads here that have people under their company have people that would have to answer to them, where they could unaffiliate them with the company or report to you whatever they're doing that is negative to help assist them in, taking care of that problem that they're creating. So I would just ask that you could extend some courtesy towards the vans that is authorized by DOT and TLC, being that we're paying so many, our overhead is so high that the others let's for instance, the guy here was saying that our overhead might be about $20,000 a year. Their overhead, not contributing to the city, maybe $1,000 just on insurance. Their attitude out there is that the enforcement is never going to wind up enforced that hard, that it's even half as much as what the authorized vehicle is doing, is paying. And yet, we still have to struggle out there to try and be able to come to our expenses and take care of it. So I'm just asking that if a look could be more focused on the illegal vans more than the legal vans. Let me carry one to TLC. It's very negative. It's felt like we're being sabotaged by not being informed about the changes that's going on with the TLC regulation, which means they need TLC plate. Because a lot of my customers have livery plate. When they pay for the livery plate, there's taxes that they pay there. When they're going to the TLC plate now, it's another $500, and guess what? They're not getting any revenue back from the livery plate that they surrendered. And TLC is not compensating them in any way whatsoever from changing to a TLC plate. To bring it to DOT, the situation I have with DOT is that we currently, next week, there's going to be some people that's putting in authorization for Brooklyn. And the problem that I have with what's going on there is that, or even in Queens here, is that there's a couple of companies that have authorization over here through the territory that they applied for, and they extended themselves over into Brooklyn. TLC is not doing any enforcement against those guys, as well as DOT. Maybe even giving those guys that's more authorization to come over there, the ones that's not supposed to be there, to be over there working also. So I'm hoping those 2 things could be addressed, being able to inform us what's going to happen with even the guys that currently have livery plate. If they're going to have, is it possible that if they need a TLC plate, can it be delayed until it's time to renew their insurance so they're not paying twice? As well as whatever the case may be, inform the company them ahead of time so that we will be able to give them the right information.
Well, let me thank Mr. Williams for that. Again, let me remind you that the Assistant Commissioner is taking notes, in fact, and will bring the information back. In terms of enforcement, and we're going to have one last speaker, then we're going to break for lunch. We're hoping our guests will stay and dine with us, and as courteous individuals, we're going to let them go first. So let me just say one thing in defense of enforcement, that our hats go off to Deputy Commissioner Scanlon and Deputy Commissioner Jeff Hunt. For most of last year, and a few months into 2014, we have seen a level of enforcement that has been unprecedented. We saw exceptional enforcement where the illegals were targeted. I think many companies saw their fleet size expand because the unauthorized operators, many of them, tried to get affiliation. There is a positive correlation between enforcement and legal vans. The legal van population increases when there's thorough and consistent, sustained enforcement. Commissioner, we can't survive without enforcement. Guys get away with the things they get away with because they think, oh, the TLC is a joke, they're not going to be here for long. There are two sets of authorized van operators today. One group is committed to doing the right thing no matter what, and they're usually laughed at. And there's another group that will get licensed if it's too hot on the road for illegal activity. And then you have the third group now, which is the guy who has total disregard for authority. That's what's happening out there. So enforcement is a critical component to the survival of the licensed van operator. And Commissioner Hunt and Scanlon have done a remarkable job of bringing their troops into the street in an aggressive manner, but in a professional manner. And they've made a difference in the lives of many of our operators. One last question and then we break. I want to thank all our guests for coming. We are going to do this more often. We hope we have given you an impression of what's going on, and we hope we'll take it to the right authority.
Thank you, Mr. Ricketts. I just want to, first of all, thank you for that comment, and I want, so that you have some understanding on how seriously TLC takes the enforcement portion of our agency, I just want to give you some statistics. From January 1st up till, let's say, April 30th, till yesterday, the total seizure of vans, illegal vans in Brooklyn was 787.
That's not true. No, not true. Not true. I don't know where they get that from. It's not true.
Sorry. Brooklyn was 90. In Queens, 73. Airports, 24.
All we need is enforcement.
Manhattan, 48, and one in the Bronx. So thank you for recognizing the hard work that our enforcement unit is doing. And we do need you as our partners so we can make this project a success for all of us. Thank you.
And also speaking on the terms of enforcement, City Hall has been very supportive to the TLC's enforcement staff. Our head count should be increasing. In June, we should be graduating another class of around 64 cadets that will be coming on board for the TLC's enforcement staff. And then by the end of next year, the end of June, we should have a total enforcement staff of 318, which is up from 244 that we have right now. So we'll be able to increase our enforcement activities against illegal operators in the areas.
And let me just add that, you know, we have been informed every time there's a new class graduating, a new class of officers graduating. And recently at a community board meeting, it was stated that the TLC now has 10 new cars that are equipped with radar guns. So not only will they be catching the bad guys, they'll be catching the bad guys, the speeders are bad guys too, but they'll be catching the speeders, legal or not. So there's been a lot of resources put into enforcement. We need to see more of it, we need to see it more consistently, and I'm optimistic that it's going to happen. Right now, there seems to be a lull. It's not as aggressive as it was for much of last year, which, you know, many of you guys reported to me that you felt it in the pocketbooks. And it's about safety, and it's about revenue. And that's what it's all about. Last one.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming here. I'm going to stand here because I don't know some of the folks here. I don't know them by name, just by title. So my point here is that the consumer, the person who rides the vans, they're not here to speak for themselves. They support us every day with their hard-earned money, and they expect us to give them a safe ride back home. One of the things that's been absent here is, people complain about the conduct of the drivers. One of the things that's absent here is that we as a business, we as an entity, we haven't been trained. There's very little training for us. We're all self-trained. The police officers are trained, the chef back there is trained, but we haven't had a training program. I would want to highly recommend that we get together and have some sort of training program. Maybe not for myself because I'm on my way out, but maybe for the young people who are coming in. There's lots of younger drivers who are coming into our business. And what happens? You give the driver a van, he starts to drive. He doesn't know how to treat his fellow driver and the public. So, on that, I want to make a recommendation. I want to ask, what is the gentleman? Okay. I would like to recommend that the gentleman who was here before, his name is Matt? Yeah. He's an attorney, and he's got a training program in the school. And I would like him to get together with possibly this gentleman who I had some interaction with, who's a police officer. And if he can teach a program, if it's just a one-day program, so every driver that comes in, they go through this program for one day. Many of us might not want to do it, but they go through one day, so they know how to interact with the public, they know how to behave, they know how to drive properly, they know how to conduct themselves a certain way, they know how to dress a certain way. And I think that would go a long way in terms of helping. And then we'll ask the police officer at that seminar, for that one day, when the driver's coming in, before he gets his license, his officers will be part of that seminar. He would come in and give maybe a half an hour, an hour training, and says, this is what I expect of you on the road. So I'm asking, and I know the gentleman's not here, if this gentleman could be here, maybe could facilitate some sort of a program. It's along with what this gentleman here mentioned before in terms of all conduct on the road. And it will go a long way in helping us to get through this when it comes to conduct with the drivers.
His name is Steve Lander, and he's an operator in community transportation system. All right, now, I lied earlier, I said it was the last question. This is the last question, and then we break.
Thank you. My name is Shirley Hampton, and I'm community van driver since about 3 years now. My question is to you, Mr. I was told that you can't load on the subway unless because you are too new. Then I hear that you have to have the act license now, all of those, a commercial driver's license, an act license, and medical, and everything, but yet I cannot load on the subway. I would like to know why.
Well, I'd like to know who told you you could not, and what company do you work for?
Okay, I'm original Black Star Line. City.
Yeah, well, you have to ask that question of the owner.
Well, I asked the owner, when the owner say he talked to the person used the book, the list.
Let me say that. You're currently licensed by Black Star Line. CD Transportation. CD Transportation has to protect his operators. I have nothing to do with that. He has to protect his operators. I know where my operators are licensed to work, and therefore I protect them. If you have issues with not being able to work, then there's a complaint section of the TLC that you can use 311, and you can lodge your complaint with the TLC, and you say, I'm a licensed operator, and have documentation saying John Brown has blocked my vehicle. There's no such thing as being too new. That's nonsense. Because let me tell you what's going on here. Some companies are some company heads are so lackadaisical. They let the tail wag the dog. They let their drivers run their companies. And that is the problem. Much of the problem we have in the industry is with the company heads, not the drivers. The heads of companies who are not doing the right thing. Okay, so that's where, but lodge a complaint. If your owner can't help you, lodge a complaint at 311. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Lunch is served. I'm hoping our guests will stay and dine with us. And we keep the momentum going.